Hey guys, welcome back to the Outdoor Navigator. So, it's getting to be that time of year. The weather's warming up, the water's warming up, the fish are getting hungry, they're starting to move. Bite is on. Man, it's time. And if you've noticed here lately in some of my episodes, I've been talking a little bit about kayak fishing. Man, we've talked about a lot of good stuff. So starting with this episode, I'm going to start a series called Let's Talk Fishing Kayaks. And that's what we're going to do today. First thing we need to talk about is what to consider when buying one. Sit-in kayaks, those little shorties, when you're underway, under power. And if you need to wait, I say wait. In today's episode, once you buy that kayak, I'm going to tell you the essentials that you must have when you get it. Important thing that you're going to need is you're going to need a PFD. And you don't want to get caught up creek without a paddle. So whether you're on the lake or the creek or the pond or the sea, you're going to have to pee. All right, so we've talked about buying a kayak, maybe your first one. We've talked about the must-have gear that you got to have when you get that kayak. And now we're going to talk about the must-have upgrades and add-ons once you get everything else. So, let's go! All right, so let's talk add-ons. We'll start over here on this side. So the first thing that I want to show you is this Yak Gadget FlexRod staging system. Okay, so what this does is this basically gives you a spot to put your rods, okay, in a horizontal fashion. Now, this may not be for everybody. But now, the reason why I like this, most kayaks are outfitted, okay, with some form of rod holder, okay. These in the back, you know, they give you that vertical storage, and I've even got another one up here. But the problem that I always had with this, when your rod is stored in this fashion, and it's sticking up in the air, a lot of times when I'm fishing creeks or rivers, or even when I'm on a lake and I have to pull my boat in, okay, to maybe I've got to hang up, or maybe I just want to come into the bank and tie off. Whatever the reason, when I've got that pole stuck up in the air like that, I hit trees all the time, okay? I'll hit a tree, run the chance of breaking off one of my rods, and there's even been times when I was casting, and when I was doing a good sidearm cast, I'd come back and I'd hit that, and then sometimes even my bait would get a hold of something, okay? And I mean, that just wasn't good. I mean, not good at all. I knew I wanted something different, so I ended up finding these, and I found them to be very useful. I mean, if I remember right, I think they're like 48 bucks, okay? And I think when I bought them, they were even cheaper, but you know how prices are. Everything's going up nowadays. But what I like about them, they set out away from the boat, keeps my reels out away from the boat so they don't interfere with anything. I ended up adding this so that I could lock them in when I was moving and different things like that. I also added some tethers so that I can actually tether off to these just in case something happens and one of them falls in the water. I don't lose a $200, $300 fishing pole. Not that that one is, but I've got something like it. It's always good to keep a good eye on that stuff. Now, another thing I like, you see up here in the front, see this little knob? Okay, I can turn this knob here, and that allows me to slide that out a little bit farther if I want to. I like to keep it in a little bit closer, so I'm gonna just go ahead and put it back there. So the pros, all right, it's easy access to my rods when I'm sitting there in my chair. And I can avoid casting mishaps and avoid catching my poles in trees when I go into the bank. Now the cons, it ties up one side of the boat. So you can see it runs all the way up inside the boat. So I pretty much lose a lot of my gear track, okay, what I can put on it, because I've got those poles over top of it. But that's one con. Another one, if you have to re-enter your kayak for any reason, you're not going to be able to do it on this side because you've got these poles here. If you try to come up over the side, you're going to break a pole. But you know what? For me, the pros outweigh the cons. Let's move on to the next one. All right, another add-on that I felt like I had to have. When you're out there catching big bass, you want to know what size they are, either for bragging rights or maybe you're fishing in a tournament. So one thing that I think everybody should have is a good catch board, okay? And this is mine. All right, this is just aluminum. It's not going to rust. Just a tournament board from Bass Pro Shop. It goes up to 22 inches. And I like to have this on hand, so when I do catch a fish, I don't generally keep any, but if I did for legal purposes, I could make sure that it was a legal limit. And it also gives me something to where I can measure fish and, you know, I know how long it is, and maybe I can brag to my buddies. All right, the con is, where do you store this thing? I mean, like I showed you, that one I had is 22 inches. So, you know, I've seen people hang them off the side of their kayak. There's different brands, and I'll show you some of them up here while I'm talking. But that would be the only con that I can think of, is just where to store. Now for me, I had a little DIY project. I took a piece of water hose, okay, and I zip tied it up underneath my chair, and I just run mine up under the chair and it's out of the way. So that worked for me. That's my idea. There's other ideas out there, and maybe check it out, but I think you definitely need a catch board to measure in big old hogs. All right, so there a second ago we was talking about horizontal rod storage. Well, rod storage is important in so many ways. I also recommend that you have some kind of other rod storage, okay? This here is just a Scotty mount, and over top of me, I'll show you, costs like 30 bucks or something like that. This is real good, so when you're fishing and you catch a fish and you start messing with it, okay, you can put your fishing pole up here in this to keep it out of the way while you're unhooking that big bass. Or, you know, if you're tying on something, or maybe you're just having lunch, you know, gives you a way to keep that pole out of the way. That's one of those must-haves. I mean, I feel like you gotta have one of those. There's a bunch of different brands, bunch of different styles, but I think having one is very important. Now, one thing with this one, all right, it will pull out and you can adjust the angle, okay? You can angle it different ways. There are some that work a little bit easier than that one, but that's the one I bought. I think when I got it, it was on sale. You know, I'm a bargain type shopper. It still serves the purpose, and I don't think I could live without it. I gotta have it. So that's a must have. Let's go on to the next one. All right, so I don't know if you all can tell right now, but it's raining on me. I don't have rain gear on, but I do have a place in my boat where I store my rain gear. And that brings me to the next must-have addition. All right, so the next must-have addition is a backpack, okay? And I like to mount mine on the back of my chair. And it could be any style backpack. I mean, this one here is made by Lunker Hut. I'll put a link in the description. I do like this one because it's got a wide opening up here in the top of it, okay, so that I can get in there and get to my stuff. But inside here, I usually keep my lunch box. Okay, I got my storage box where I keep my wallet and my keys and all that kind of stuff. And I've also got my rain jacket, so I like to keep it on hand. So there's so many other things that you can store in it. I've even put my scale in there and different things. And here on the side, I got my pea cup. So it serves multiple purposes. The main purpose is storage. And I think, you know, storage is always important. You never have enough storage room when you got your kayak. All right, so a con, when you're sitting in your seat, sometimes these straps can be a little uncomfortable on your back. And at times, it's hard to access things that are back here. Okay, and once you get your sea legs and you feel comfortable moving around in your kayak and everything, you know, it makes it a lot better. But for some people, it may be hard to turn around and get to that stuff. But that would be about the only con that I can think of. Once again, the pros outweigh the cons. I love having that extra storage. Let's move on to the next must-have. All right, guys, now I like to pride myself on my casting abilities, but every once in a while I'll make a bad cast. I'll cast a little bit too high, and I'll get up in those trees, just like what I did when I was a little guy. Some things stay the same. Now, I've also been known to be using a crankbait coming through the water and end up getting a bump thinking it was a big old hog and end up hanging into a big old tree. Them baits are expensive, and I hate to leave them in the tree. I hate to leave them under the water because it hurts the wallet. So I found something that's helped me a whole lot alleviate that. Now, this is something you won't see in everybody's video. So that's why it's good to watch a bunch of guys' videos, because a lot of times you'll come up with something new. So this is just basically a bait hook. Okay, I think that's what it's actually called. I got this from Bass Pro Shop. Okay, and you can see I got it cam locked in there, and I'll put some links to these little cam locks I bought. I got these off of Amazon. There's some that are more expensive than these, but these serve the purpose and they're cheap, so I'll take it. What's great about this, all right, if I hang something up under the water, all right, I can take that hook into my line, follow that line down, and I can kind of move that back and forth and try to bust that bait out. All right, and get it back. And I can tell you, I've saved a lot of money on that. Now, if I get caught up in a tree, all right, this thing extends. You can extend it out, and that allows me to get there in a tree and do kind of the same thing. Hook onto my bait and pull on it and try to shake it out of that tree. I have saved myself a bunch of money. So much money that it's a must-have on my boat. Now, as far as cons, the only con really is where you're going to store it. Like I showed you, here's where I've got mine stored. It's in the back of the boat, out of the way. I've never had it give me any problems. Another con is it takes some practice, especially when you're on a kayak and you're trying to use that thing to get down underneath that water and you're kind of pushing against yourself. I mean, it seems like it can be very frustrating. It seems like every time you make any progress, you push yourself away from the bait, and just makes it harder and harder to get out. But, you know, with a little determination, you can do it. And that right there is another must-have. I've got another one, and it's a good one. Let's check it out. All right, so this last one, I just got this one this last year, and it has been a game changer. The most important thing, it has saved my back. All right, so what I got is some native Watercraft sidekick. So basically all that is some wheels that I put on my boat that help me move this back and forth. Okay, makes it real easy. So when it comes to getting to the ramp and loading and unloading, this has made the job so much easier. Basically what I can do is I can pull this out of my truck, I can walk it down the ramp, I can push it in the water, I can raise these wheels up. Okay, they lock into position here on the side, and I'll show you that up above me. And then you just step in your kayak and you start fishing. Now at the end of the day, when you're done, all right, it's just everything in reverse order. So as I'm coming into the ramp, I'll turn around and I'll put these wheels in. I'll come up to the ramp, I'll step out, I'll walk up here to the front, and I'll grab this handle, I'll lift it up, and then away we go. I mean, it's that easy. I've had this boat for, I think, 3 or 4 years, and why did it take me so long to get one of those? I don't know. All right, so the pros. Hey, it's easy to transport this thing. It's quick time on the boat ramp, okay? You can get in and out so quick and you're not holding anybody up. And it's always good because you got them guys in them boats, man, they're impatient. Now, the cons. These things are a little bit heavy. All right, so when I'm turning around in that chair, trying to pull these out and I'm locking them in to start fishing, it's kind of heavy. It's kind of a pain in the butt, okay? Now, another thing, as you can see, the way this mounts on my gear tracks and move back into this rear storage well, it has taken up some of my space. It makes things a little bit tighter, and I got less storage space back there just because of that. Another thing that I ended up doing, so you see I got a C-tug wheel on here, and I'm going to show you the wheels that came with it. These are the wheels that came with the sidekick, okay? They're inflatable. They got air in them. All right, an inflatable tire has buoyancy. So, with that being said, like I was telling you, when you're leaving for the day from fishing, All right, you're coming into the ramp and you're wanting to deploy those back, okay, into positions so you can walk it back to your truck. When you're pushing those down in the water, it's tough because that buoyancy is working against you. It's a pain in the butt. And one of my fellow YouTubers, Rhino Joe Outdoors, he's the one that showed me this. I seen it on one of his videos, and that's why I watch YouTube videos, because I learn so much. So I kind of went over the cons. I told you the pros. Once again, the pros outweigh the cons, and this is a must-have. All right, guys, so I told you the top 5 must-haves, and as promised, here are some honorable mentions. So number 1, you might want to get you some kind of electronic. Now here I've just got a Helix Hummingbird, okay, Hummingbird Helix 5. It's just pretty much got the down imaging. I don't have side imaging or anything like that, but I do think it helps me. It lets me know how deep everything is. I can find structure. I know what kind of water temperature I've got, and it's even got GPS, so I can do a little navigating while I'm out there and not get lost. So, you know, there's all kinds of different electronics. There's even some that are very controversial, all right, especially your forward-facing sonar. Now, what's my opinion on that? I'm opinionated. I do have an opinion, and I'll tell you about it. Personally, I don't like it, and I'm never going to have one. They're expensive, and I don't fish tournaments, and I don't feel the need to have one. I can feel the pressure to have one if you're out there making a living using it, so I'm not going to judge if you do. I could care less. Use it if you want to. It doesn't affect me, so hey, have at it. I'm not going to have one, and that's the only person I worry about is me. I don't worry about what everybody else is doing. All right, so another honorable mention. When you're sitting in your kayak for a long time, it's good to have a little cushion for some pushing. And look here, man. This one here has got a big old bass on it. All right, so this is just a throwable Type 4 PFD. I think it serves 2 purposes. So it's nice to have this in the boat to sit on. And if somebody gets in trouble, or if I get in trouble, that's an extra flotation device that could save my life. All right, now, another honorable mention. You can see under this seat that I've got some storage. Okay, under seat storage. I like to have that. I've got my terminal tackle in those little boxes there, and keeps everything out of the way. I've even got, you know, a little tool to put my wacky rigs, and I don't have them in there right now, but I use, no, yeah, I do. I got my pliers in here, so I like to put my pliers in there. So that's a good option. Storage, like I said, is always hard to come by, so I bought this little storage pouch by Native, and there's other ones that make it. It mounts to my gear tracks, but it gives me, I can keep some fish grips in there, a tie-off strap, okay, some sunscreen. I've got some fish grips in there, and a pair of scissors for cutting that braid. Go over here to the other side, you can see I got a cup holder, okay. I like having that in there to hold my cold pop. I mean, you can work up a real thirst when you're pulling in all them bass. And let's see, last but not least on mine, all right, I got a YakAttack camera pole that I keep on there to record all that good footage on the Navigating Angler Fishing Show, you know, to show you all those big bass I catch. Well, guys, that's it. Okay, that's my must-haves, and I threw in a couple honorable mentions. You can do all kinds of things with these boats. The sky's the limit on what you can do. And as you get out there and fish, okay, you'll identify shortcomings, and you'll think, man, I wish there was something that would make this better. And that's what's so great about YouTube. Get on YouTube. If it's not my channel, check out some other channels. There's all kinds of ideas out there. That's why I watch it. Now, I don't spend all my time watching YouTube because I like to fish, but I feel like you can learn a lot. I hope that you learned something today, and if you did, hey, I invite you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Hit that like button. Leave a comment. If you got a question or you got something that you use, put it down there in the comments and let me know about it, because I'm always looking for other things. I know that I haven't named all the must-haves. There's more must-haves out there. There's must-haves that you have that I don't have, but that's okay, because at the end of the day, it's all about navigating outdoors and making your life better. So navigate outdoors, and I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.